Marty, you've been away for a week.
I've been away in a way that most people don't get to experience very often. Like I had no cell phone, there's no cell coverage to start with where I was. I'm in the middle of Jasper. I actually destroyed my cell phone. It rained so much. So I'm in and the buddy I was hiking with, he asked me that. He's like, how quickly do you disconnect? I'm like, I'm good at hiking now. I usually disconnect within half a day of, being on the trail. The trail we did was actually pretty rough, pretty long, arduous, and the weather was shitty. So in a sense, we were in a kind of a survival mode. You know what I mean? Like you're in the height. It's not a vacation. I can't relax, right? And because of that, man, I wasn't thinking about the real world. Like the real world was the real world. The real world for me was getting up, finding wood, making a fire, walking, taking care of my feet, making sure, looking at, I can't tell you how many times I looked at the sky saying like, come on, give me a break, like stop the rain, like just, so it's good to disconnect that way. And I wish more I wish more people could do that, because it truly is cool to come back out and then find out what happened in the world. And boy, it's been a doozy. Like what a week you guys had while I was gone. This country's still insane, man. It's an insane country. It's an insane planet, insane country.
It is. And you know what I tweeted out today? I said, being an American citizen in Canada in 2025 feels a lot like being unvaccinated in Canada in 2021. It's really turning harsh. There's this huge on this swell of anti-American sentiment that's just brewing in Canada. People need a scapegoat. People need something that they can throw their anger at. And it's coming from all sides, right? Like it's not just a liberal thing anymore. With Pierre Poilievre, when he did his first speech when the election started, he took jabs at America. He didn't take jabs at Donald Trump, just Donald Trump. I mean, he made a joke about how I think it's some Winston Churchill joke about how Americans never do the right thing until they're pushed. Yeah. And it's like, well, that's a jab at all Americans, and the sentiment's really gone far this way, and it's culminating and turning into this thing where I'm not sure if it's anti-American sentiment, just that, or it's that mixed with anti-Christian sentiment, where they've basically banned a singer nationwide, a Christian rock singer who sings at worships, and he's not allowed to play in any reindeer games. I mean, what do you say about this? It's absolutely insane to me. But this is the state of Canada. This is Sean Foyt just after he got banned from Montreal. They actually issued a fine to the church that he was singing at. He was singing in a church on Sunday. It's not even technically a concert. But he says, let me get this straight, Montreal. You canceled our permit for a peaceful outdoor worship for gathering for no reason. You threatened a church on private property to not have church. And you sent a battalion of police to intimidate us. Antifa threw 2 smoke bombs in the place. And now you want to fine the church for doing what churches do, worship. This is crazy.
This is communist Russia in the 1920s. This is Pol Pot in Cambodia in the 1960s. This is like going after churches and academics and like that's what this is. But we saw this during COVID. I'm from Alberta. I mean, poor Art Podlowski, Pastor Art, got threatened. We had churches here that I'm not surprised. I mean, Quebec did something similar, but again, like if you had told me 10 years ago that this would happen, I would have said you're out of your mind. But now I come back out and you tell me while I was gone, hey, by the way, while you were gone, this happened. They find the church, they sent the police to get the guy. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not even surprised, mildly surprised. Like it's nothing.
Where I'm surprised. So like this kind of thing you might expect out of Montreal, because it's that kind of city. I mean, you hear about this. They have their May Day events and all that stuff. But then you hear that Winnipeg just canceled their permits for his tour in Winnipeg.
Yeah,
like that's crazy. In Winnipeg, of all places.
Yeah, he's going across the country. They're trying to ban him everywhere, but it's backfiring on some of these groups, right? I mean, it's and it's promoting him. You and I are talking about him. This is a classic Streisand effect. They're turning into not a martyr, but it's backfiring on them. I'm glad. I mean, I like we're going to talk about similar things like this today. We've gone too far, right? Like not we. Some groups are going so far now that now it's backfiring on them, right? Like the story time at the libraries, the drag queen story time, that was people going too far and people saying, I've had enough. And I think some people are going to wake up and go, whoa, 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 whoa. You know, it's a guy giving who cares what the topics were, by the way? Who cares what he was singing about? He's singing in the church, man, on private property. Like when did this become? That's the scariest thing, right? Is people trying to cancel speech is what this is that they disagree with. But anyways, I mean, I'm looking at the positive side. I think there's a lot of they've gone too far now, the radical left, and this is collapsing on them. Yeah,
it really is. It's collapsing because we have people putting out advertisements that are going completely the other way, and it's a huge win, right?
His subsequent concerts after Montreal were huge. Like his concerts are getting bigger and bigger, right? So now he's having, I don't know where he is tonight, but he's had a few concerts since, and instead of having 600 people, he had 6,000 people at his concert last night. So yeah, it's backfiring. I know where you were leading. You were leading with what? The advertising? Is that where you were going?
That's exactly where I was going. Yeah. I thought it would be a perfect segue because people are they're ticked off, and then when they see something good, something like, I don't know, a beautiful lady wearing blue jeans getting into a muscle car and driving away. I mean, wow. I like GT350s. I like beautiful ladies in blue jeans. I mean,
it's all American, right?
Makes me want to go buy some clothing, you know? And the backlash is the funniest part because like it's partially backlash, but it's the other half is like people really rooting this on and saying, woo, let's see more of this. It's crazy. So we have I don't know if this is a parody, but it's funny nonetheless.
That's parody. I'm pretty sure that's parody. Yeah.
So responding to whom it may concern, we sincerely apologize for featuring Sydney Sweeney in our recent advertisement. In hindsight, we underestimated the combined impact of her blue eyes, blonde hair, and general hotness. Also, we did not realize how big her boobs would be. Our marketing team has been sent denim sensitivity training. Thank you for your feedback. Stop emailing us. Yeah, this is great.
It is great. I mean, like, you know, we again, it's similar to the church. You're right. I think this is further signaling the end of this DEI era, this nonsense era, right? Like we just lived through the era where there's been some crazy advertising. I mean, where Gillette men's razors were like making a campaign saying, toxic masculinity. Man, like you're alienating your core audience. Why would you do that? So if this company, if American Eagle thinks that their core audience is young men and young ladies, and they're going to like that, let them be the judge of that. And if you don't like that product, don't buy it. Don't try to get it canceled. I mean, it's and by the way, I heard that
they're trying to get
sold out. They sold out, right? American Eagle sold out of jeans, man. Like they went like they're like, whoa, whoever came up with this campaign, unlike the Budweiser campaign, it sold out. Like
congratulations. I think like bravo. Good on you. Great job. That's fantastic. And there's still pushback. And it's not landing like it was landing only months ago. So you have this young lady trying to do her virtue signal on TikTok or whatever, and this is what she had to say.
You want to go to American Eagle?
Oh, I can't go in there because I'm black.
Yeah, no.
Like it just doesn't land. I tweeted about this. Liberal logic. You're only allowed to shop at stores where the people on the adverts are the same race as you. Everyone else, nice jeans. Like this.
Yeah.
This is where people are at.
Yeah, that's trying way too hard. I didn't see that. And so no, I'm glad that that's happening. And that was I was surprised, actually. That was a pleasant surprise when I came out of the bush and I log on. It was one of the first things I seen was this whole American Eagle campaign and how some people tried to be offended, but it backfired. So I'm glad.
So there was another piece in the news that I mentioned as we were getting the show going, you hadn't heard about. You and I are both into firearms. I know a lot of the fans of the channel, people that watch us regularly, are into firearms. There's been a bit of contention with Sig Sauer and one of their models, the model that's the I think it's a 320. This is a big story at the moment because someone was injured. Someone actually was finally injured because these uncontrolled discharges, or people not commanded, an uncommanded discharge, became this thing that people were talking about, that these guns kept doing that. And Sig would not recognize this. Yet they did do an upgrade that was apparently to fix that problem, even though they didn't recognize that was a problem. Nonetheless, finally, someone did get hurt. And this is the story that's going out. An airman was killed by an M18 pistol. He was 21 years old from Kentucky. Now, this is an airman. He had his sidearm with him when he went into his office. He took his sidearm off, placed it on the table, and as he placed it on the table, it was in the holster, pointed towards him, and it went off in the holster and shot him in the chest and killed him. Now, this is a big contentious issue. A lot of people need to know, if you have one of these firearms, to be very careful with it. This is a very scary situation. There's another YouTuber who did, and I'll show you this. He was trying to recreate the scenario. He set it up where there was only 1 millimeter of take up on the trigger, which can happen by just having crud in there from being in its holster, pressed up against the holster. But just manipulating the slide was enough to actually make it go off. Wow. Rewind that again so you can see that. Now, he just had in there not an actual bullet. He just had a cartridge with a primer in it. Just enough to make a bang, but not enough to,
obviously, because there was no recoil on the slide, didn't go backwards. But that's too bad.
So the reports, and I'll show you some of these instances that got caught on camera, because here's the deal: when people have cameras all over the place, you then see more and more of these cases. Here's one such case, and there's plenty. So finger off the trigger, going into the holster. Discharges. Luckily, he was not injured in this case. It was very close to his leg. Here's another scenario where there were students that were waiting at a range for the officer, who was a teacher. The range officer was a teacher, to give them explanations, and one of the holstered weapons goes off.
Right. Is that a fucking 320?
Yep.
All right. God damn it, dude. Get this gun off my range. Don't bring it back on the range. God damn.
So it's become one of those things. It's so common these days that this has become an issue. And you know, one thing that everybody warned about is someone's going to get hurt. Now someone's gotten hurt. So yeah, I just wanted to give this news out there, because there are probably people in the community. Get this: we were at the range on the weekend, and we firing a bunch of firearms. One of the guys was firing one of these, and he was very new to firearms. And he was just racking it, and it fired.
Yeah, it'll be, hopefully they address it quickly. But despite that, I will say this: when I participate in the sport, there is a reason we still do a lot of the things we do, right? Even if I was like, when I'm done shooting, there's a command that says if done, unload and show clear, and then you reholster. So I would never reholster. Even and a police officer or somebody in combat is a different story, but in sports you don't reholster, you still unchamber. Same with putting a gun on the table. I would never in my life put a loaded gun that's in my holster on a table. There's a reason for the rules. So I'm not excusing the fact that the gun's malfunctioning, but that's also why we have so many security rules. But anyways, it's
absolutely
yeah. Actually, speaking of that, do you want to talk about real quick the federal government, Ottawa, published the homicide statistics for 2024 on Tuesday? They published them, middle of the year. It's not uncommon. I mean, it takes the year for them to go and publish that. But those are there's a little table. The table is hard to see, but I'll just say this. Okay, there you go. So there was 788 total homicides last year in Canada. 286 were committed by firearms, right? And if you look at the year before, it's 294, and then 344, but 299, 280. So they're kind of like the number of crimes committed by firearms in this country is not moving up or down significantly. And then buried in the statistics is the fact that firearm crimes are 60% of firearm crimes, homicides are committed by gangs. So,
how many, do they even have the stat out there? Like how many registered law abiding?
It's there. It's buried. You got to find it. I mean, the number of, they don't have it for this year because they haven't done the full analysis, but last year, of those 294 shootings, 4 were committed by licensed firearm owners. So, 4. And I'm going to guess that they were probably crimes of passion. Somebody gets mad in the spur of the moment and shoots somebody with a shotgun or something like that. But generally speaking, to your point, law-abiding citizens who go through the paperwork, anybody who goes through the paperwork to get a pal is not going to go out and willy-nilly shoot people. Anyways, but here's the interesting thing, right? So look at that: 286 firearm homicides, 250 stabbings, right? The stabbings is always like within percentage points of gun shootings, right? Like we a lot of people die from stabbings, but this is the one that amazes me: 131 people beaten to death. You know how mad? So again, it proves that. How are they going to stop people from beating each other, right? Like you and I, I'm licensed not to beat you up, right? Like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I'm going to ban beatings. Okay, let's
But what are we going to do? Are we going to turn into like the UK where they're asking people to hand in their knives?
Exactly.
This is a real thing. The UK, and as we get closer to, and we'll get into the Donald Trump stuff. As we get closer to the UK, because we're looking for new economic partners, we're also going strangely close to the dangerous rules that they're setting out.
Well, the UK last week, didn't the UK lower the voting age to 16 while I was gone? They did something silly like that. Like, can you imagine?
They were talking about it here. They were talking about it here, and everyone's like, maybe we should increase it. Maybe it should go up to like 25 perhaps.
Yeah. But anyways, so liberals won't talk about that report that came out because the liberal strategies towards crime are dismal. And, banning guns you and I have talked about this. I think it is one of the worst, most poorly thought out, expensive, ineffective strategies they could ever come up with. I mean, it's going to cause.
Just look to the places with the most guns. And look at the places where they've banned guns. America, the United States of America, huge country of people who love guns. They love their guns.
Yeah.
And where is all the crime? Where's all the gun crime? It's in liberal cities where guns are prohibited.
Chicago, Baltimore, New York. Absolutely.
All these places. LA. You can't tell me in good faith that these gun control laws are actually effective. But what you get is the no true Scotsman argument, or the communism, we didn't do it right that time, we just got to do it better argument of, well, in the United States, because there's guns everywhere, it just makes it more dangerous when you ban the guns. Yes, yes, it does make it more dangerous. But the answer is not banning guns everywhere. The answer is not banning guns. The answer is allowing the your citizenry, encouraging them even. I hate using the term allowing them because it's your damn right, but encouraging them to use them if you're in a situation where somebody's entered your home, somebody's threatening you.
Can you put that chart back up real quick? You're making me laugh and you're making me think of something too. Like there's a category near the bottom, right? Like there's 29 methods used unknown or other methods used 44. Cars in this country are almost becoming a category, right? You'll be able to put cars as a weapon category pretty soon. Because there was a lot of people killed by cars in 2024, right? In one incident in Vancouver, and so that's in there, buried in there, right? Remember that incident? I mean, you guys had somebody, or was that 2025?
I'm not sure, but I'll tell you something that's another thing that's insidious about these statistics is they don't include self-deletion. They don't include that.
Right. No. That's
Well, they don't include that as a separate category. So a firearm homicide is the same if it was self-inflicted or if it was inflicted on somebody else.
Right.
Nobody's committing seppuku. Nobody's doing harikiri. So it wouldn't end up in the knife data.
No, but there's an unknown category, which is interesting. I mean, like in this day and age, if they find a body and they go, we have no idea how he died. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Like I always thought, I maybe I watched too much CSI. They always seem to know on CSI, but I guess in real life, you can find a body and go, I have no idea how this guy died.
Oh, that's some grainy footage. Just enhance the footage. I love it. So I do video editing. It cracks me up every time I see that. Enhance. I wish I could enhance.
Freeze, move backwards 3 frames, enhance. No, that's not happening.
It doesn't work. Work. Oh, where does that segue into? There's so many things that we're talking about. I guess we could talk about Donald Trump and the fact that we're not getting a deal in Canada. We have a deadline of Friday, and it doesn't look like we're going to make any of these deadlines because,
it doesn't even
Donald Trump says it best. I think he says it best in this clip right here.
With Canada, I think Canada could be one where they'll just pay tariff, not really a negotiation. We're working very diligently with Europe. With Canada.
It's like there's no deal with Canada. That's it. It's not even going to be a negotiation.
I mean, I registered for Carney's for the Prime Minister's office's daily press releases, and I'm like, I have no idea what he's doing, Clyde. Like it doesn't sound like anybody's negotiating with Washington. I mean, Carney's in PEI yesterday announcing that we're going to cut the toll on the Confederation Bridge from $50 to $20. I'm like,
who cares?
Wow. Who cares? And by the way, I didn't even know that a bridge is the bridge owned by the federal government, and that's who was anyways. And then what else has he done for announcements this week? I mean, I like it's like next to nothing. Well, actually, he had a doozy of an announcement today. Whoa! But let's save that one before we go there. But yeah, no, we're Trump was giddy. I mean, Trump is looking forward to August 1st like this. He's like, the money's going to roll in because everybody's just going to get slapped with tariffs. And
well, that's it. And it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary because here's the deal. Canada wants to make it look like they're being singled out of all the other countries. And we're getting this raw, unfair deal. You hear it in the rhetoric, every side. So Carney says unjustified tariffs. You hear Poilievre saying unjustified tariffs. There's nobody's cutting through the fray except maybe Kevin O'Leary. I had a show about him this morning he's the only one talking sense and saying that this is a thing. But here's some news that broke, and this really made my blood boil. I'm not gonna lie. So this is the main themes of the Liberal Party's elbows up re-election campaign were actually tested in confidential federal focus groups by the Privy Council, paid from you and me by tax dollars, months before the U.S. ever announced any tariffs. This was a shtick that they had going. They planned this. So all of this, and they can't back down. They can't back down. We all know that as soon as he got elected, he started praising Donald Trump and the elbows went down. But they've gone through with some really bad things when it comes to trade negotiation. Trump is peeved based on the dairy cartel. The dairy cartel is one aspect of the economy, but it's out of principle that you don't. No, when we bring that up, it's
today
unfair.
again. He mentioned it again today in the press conference. He keeps going back to that we've had tariffs against them up to 200, 300, 400%. He said he's miffed at that. He absolutely is.
And so there's a lot of detractors that'll say, well, nobody ever pays that tariff. And you're like, yeah, well, you're damn right they don't. The reason they don't is because it's a disincentive. The whole point is that nobody would want to enter the market at a 350% markup on their product. They know that nothing will sell, so they just don't even bother. And that's the whole point. It's a disincentive. This is how these things work.
Yeah. Actually, that one's an interesting one because I looked into it a little bit. I guess there is a ceiling for American milk products to enter into the country before those tariffs hit, right? And we rarely meet it. I mean, that's I'm kind of defending Canada here weekly, but Trump, it miffs Trump, but he could find better reasons to be pissed off at us than the milk tariffs. But
do you know how those quotas work, Marty?
Well, we had the food professor on the show one time. He explained it pretty good. So yeah,
right. They're handed out to cronies that basically, and this is crappy because it's bad for the Canadian economy. You have these special players that get special treatment from Ottawa that are given an exemption from the tariffs. So everybody else who wants to enter the market and sell milk or dairy, milk, eggs, dairy, poultry products, you have to do everything within all the rules. But then there's a special class of people that are friends in the top elite, in the Laurentian elites in Ottawa, that get carve-outs based on this quota system that they negotiated with the USMCA. And they get some special deals. So they can buy dairy from the United States at American cost price and sell it at whatever price they want in the Canadian market and have no competition. This is just outrageous. It's crony capitalism at its best.
And in the case of Carney and all his conflicts of interest and and everything he has his hands into, every time he does something, you can trace it back to some money. So right now, if he's not moving faster on a deal with the US, in the back of my mind, it's because he's got these other deals that he's working on that are more beneficial to him and not beneficial to Canadians. I mean, that guy, he's no different than any other federal politician at this point that we've had in the last decade. He's not working for us. They make it appear like he's working for us. Even that Confederate toll bridge, lowering the toll. I'm sure there's some rich families out east, right? The Irvings are out there. The McCains are out there. All of those guys are out there. And I'm sure behind the scenes, somebody's like, hey, if you do this, this will help us. And it's like, there's nothing in it for us. It's all for them. By the way, you know who else is confused about all of this and everything that's going on and Carney's lack of move? The Bank of Canada. Like Tiff Macklin had a press conference today, right? The Bank of Canada held steady on its interest rate. The Bank of Canada said there's too much fog. That's what the Bank of Canada said. Like, we can't figure out what's going on. I'm like, you guys are the guys with your pulse on the economy. You're supposed to be talking to the ministers. You're supposed to know what's going on. But the Bank of Canada, I think this is 3 meetings in a row where they're like, we don't know what's going on, so we're going to keep the rates at 2.75. Like when I listen to guys like that, I get nervous. Like when one central banker doesn't know what the other central banker's doing, I think we should all start to worry. It's just my my gut feeling on this one.
But Marty, they're independent, separate entities. Isn't that how it works?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Too much fog. No, uncertainty. It's called regime uncertainty. It's a term that comes out of the Austrian School of Economics, where you don't know the proclivities or the actions of an absurd government that's doing absurd things. So people are not investing in that economy. People are staying away from it. So, when you're doing your socialist central banking system, they don't know how to act. They don't know how to act. The way to act would, from the Austrian school, the argument would be leave it alone. Let the market decide interest rates. The market's deciding the bond yields. Why don't you just let interest rates be decided by the market altogether? But they want to inject the market with liquidity because they want to drive activity even in a recession. This is the plan. It's the Keynesian model. It's insane.
Well, Carney needs money. What did he say? What's his latest slogan? Spend less, invest more, or something like that. Like his slogans mean absolutely nothing. Hey, by the way, this is an awesome segue. What did you say? Like people are regime change or uncertainty or whatever. Mm-hmm. Do nothing would be the best, right? Right now, like I'd be just happy, like do as little as possible, and actually do one big thing: slow down immigration, like shut the border. And beyond that, do as little as possible. But Carney announced another doozy today, right? That I don't think anybody anticipated. Did you hear what he said about he's gonna recognize the state of Palestine at the UN Assembly in September?
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
Again, we've talked about this. I'm no expert on the Middle East. But to me, that just sounds like giving in to almost terrorist requests. I mean, you bomb civilians, you do something, and then Canada recognizes you. Like basically, is he seriously gonna cave into Palestine and give them what they want? To me, that's crazy. And I'm trying to see the chat if what's going on in the chat, because I know this can be a contentious,
it's a touchy topic. One.
It's a touchy one. But with that said, we shouldn't be the first ones into that position.
Let's just say it's not the first time Canada hasn't capitulated to terrorists. I mean, look at the FLQ and the reason why I have so much power in Quebec now.
Yeah.
That's a thing, but most people don't forget that.
Yeah.
Now, the other aspect is like, how is it that we can't reach a trade deal with our longest trading partners or our biggest trading partner, but we can make an announcement? Like,
they're just in a pissing match, right?
You don't have time.
Donald and Carney, I don't know. They're just in a pissing match. I don't know why. Like Carney, somebody's advising Carney, hey, you got to appear tougher. Like you're a weakling, dude. Like just cave in. I think we're going to hurt for this one. I mean, what did actually? I know behind the scenes.
I have a different thought on this. So I think.
But let me finish one thought though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Carney did force some of the provinces to dump U.S. treasuries and other things, right? So we did some banker moves to try and hurt the U.S. economy. That they're not talking about it a lot in the news. But so you had a different thought. What's your different thought on this one?
So my thought is that Carney is doing this on purpose. The Liberals want this to happen this way. As long as there's animosity between the US and Canada, when the inevitable happens, the crash, the recession that's inevitable because of their actions over the past 10 years, they can blame it on Trump. They can scapegoat all of it onto Trump. It's not their fault. It's not the fact that dipshit Trudeau
we've had 6 quarters of shrinking GDP. We've had unemployment that's stubbornly high, inflation that's stubbornly high. All the things you and I predicted. They're looking for somebody to blame it on. But it's going to be interesting.
The guy who's been in office for 6 months, he's responsible for a decade-long economic downturn of Canada. Give me a break.
Plus, the other thing that's going to backfire in that is that we might collapse and our economy will, and will be ugly, and we'll blame the Americans, who by this time will be just riding a giant wave of prosperity. It's going to be silly for us to go, we sacrificed ourselves and we're in the tank because of our values, and we didn't want to make a deal with the devil and whatever. It's like, no, man, the devil is about to to, like I said, ride a wave of prosperity. Let's get on board with that guy. Everybody else is getting on board, man. Even the EU. We're in the EU trying to make a deal with them, and they turned around and they signed a deal with Trump. Like, come on,
So
Yeah.
it's so unbelievable. Did you see what the deal was with the EU?
No, I haven't. I mean, I've been back for 4 days, and during those 4 days, one of the things I had to do was go and get my ultrasounds for my kidney stone. So I'm all good. But no, I haven't caught up on that. What's the deal with the EU?
Okay, so we all heard about Indonesia. Indonesia is going to get 20% tariffs on all Indonesian goods going into the United States. The United States has opened up Indonesia for American products, so Americans can sell their products to the Indonesian market. This is new. This is news. That's huge for the American manufacturing base, and it's great because some people will manufacture in Indonesia their products to send it over here. Yeah, there's a tariff, but that's the price of shipping it off and getting cheap labor and then bringing it back to America. So all things equal, it's a great deal. It's a fantastic deal. And I'll go back to my mall analogy. When you build a fantastic mall and then everybody comes in, they're going to pay rent. They're going to pay rent to bring their store to the mall. And if some guy walks in with a kiosk and it tries to sell for free, you say, I pay up or get out. Like that's the way it works. America's the biggest economy. Everyone wants to be in that economy with their businesses. So Trump is working some great deals and in making America some money to invest back into that economy and pay off some of their exorbitant debt that they've accrued for a long time. Now, Vietnam, similar deal, 19% across the board. And, we're not talking about small economies. Indonesia, 300 million-ish people.
They're big
Vietnam,
economies, but they don't have a lot of trade with the U.S. But they're,
well, they will now, and that's the whole point.
Yeah.
They will now, and they have previously been big sellers, wholesalers to the U.S. for goods, but not taking goods. And this is where things are going to change, right? So they'll be able to sell their products in the U.S. and American companies will be selling their products to these countries. 300 million strong in Indonesia, 100 million strong in Vietnam. Our little country of 40 million, I'll get back to that. Europe, millions and millions, lots and lots of people, hundreds of millions of people. Their economy, what did they deal with? Now, Europe, they blinked. They said, okay, 15% tariffs on all EU goods coming into America. They're also guaranteeing that there's going to be $750 billion in U.S. energy buys. There's going to be $600 billion in other investments into the U.S. of A.
Yeah, actually,
this is where it's going. And all the other countries are getting these same similar carve outs. It's the way it's going to work. They're going to pay tariffs and they're going to do business with the US and they're going to open their markets. Canada, on the other hand, a 40 million people strong economy is saying, no, you can't bring your banks here. No, you can't do this or that. We're going to be stubborn.
But we're in a different position than those countries. I mean, we are an exporter and we're not compared to the Americans. We export to the Americans and we don't buy a lot from the Americans. Whereas the Americans, like you said, I mean, there's 40 million consumers in Canada. There's 300 million consumers in Indonesia. So their economy is not that huge, but it's a market for the Americans. And so they don't see us as a market. It's fascinating to watch. I mean, there's going to be some, I look forward to seeing what happens on Friday. I mean,
so that's what I was getting at. So they don't see us as much of a market because it's 40 million people in a giant geography. And if you discounted the energy that we trade back and forth, it's a tiny little economy, but it's a one-way economy. It's them. It's us selling to them not allowing, or Canada not allowing U.S. manufacturers and sellers to come into Canada. All kinds of trade barriers. It's been a protectionist country for a very, very long time, and this is what needs to end. It needs to go.
It totally needs to end because we should buy as much as we can from them, and it will never be more than what we sell to them. I don't know why we're scared of that. We've been protecting, as an example, we've been protecting dairy farmers. We've been protecting 20,000 dairy farmers when in all fairness, they should not exist, because I should be buying my milk from the US And people go, well, I like being a dairy farmer. That's great that you like being a dairy farmer.
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. I'm not going to subsidize you to be a dairy farmer. What we're
They'll
good
say
at,
there's no subsidies, but if you ban all other market
yeah.
from entering, you've subsidized it through the forced purchase from
or if you love
individual.
being a dairy farmer, this is what I would say to you. If you don't want to be an oil driller or a coal miner or a tree cutter, then don't live in Canada. If you want to be a dairy farmer, move to the US. That's it. Simple. So if you're and then go seek your passion in the country. If you want to produce rubber, I'm not going to subsidize rubber plantations in Canada. Move to Indonesia and go do it over there. So it's weird that we subsidize industries here that we're really not good at. And it's anyways, we'll see what happens in the next couple of days. The economy right now, luckily, I don't know why, but the Canadian economy is surprisingly resilient, despite all. I think the underlying, and what Tiff Macklin and the others don't want to admit when they're talking about the economy, is that the reason the Canadian economy is surprisingly resilient is because everybody wants oil and gas and potash and coal. So luckily, the things that the Liberals have been trying to destroy from underneath them are still surviving because of pure, simple market economics. We make something that the rest of the world wants, especially here in Alberta. And no matter all the efforts to kill these industries, at the end of the day, somebody somewhere is going to be thankful. Will have to be thankful that that Kitimat is exporting LNG this week, and that Keystone is pumping oil to the US. Because if it wasn't, if the only industries we had in Canada was the auto industry in Ontario, we'd be in deep, deep, deep trouble. So
it's not going to last. Not with what Trump wants.
Our economy is resilient, but it's slowly collapsing on itself. And similar to the DEI thing, the bullshit economy that we created that doesn't produce anything we're finally realizing that hiring, hundreds of thousands of civil servants and paying them to do nothing, that's not an economy. No. Real estate, sorry, not an economy. Selling insurance products, not an economy. Those are not real things. Those are things that people out east love because you get to work in the big office tower and pretend you're important, but that doesn't in the grand scheme of things, we're getting a wake-up call. Donald Trump continues to wake us up, thankfully.
Well, we're getting a wake-up call on Donald Trump, and there's a lot of people that are pushing back. They're saying, I don't like Donald Trump anymore. Look, he might be implicated in some really bad stuff with some really bad people. And the news that broke recently is a bit of a vindication. Donald Trump appears, for all intents and purposes, actually to be the guy behind the fact that Epstein was ever investigated in the very first place. And that's an interesting thing. And it's because of what we're now learning about Epstein and what he was doing at Mar-a-Lago, those times that he was hanging out there. It looks like he was actually recruiting staff. He was going in there, he's poaching staff from
what?
Yeah. This is what's coming out.
Jesus. Jeez, that's creepy. Okay.
So the guy was coming in, staying at the spa at Mar-a-Lago, and they had young people working in there. And it wasn't a weirdo sexual spa or anything like that. It was a wholesome spa where they'd have, I guess like pools and hot tubs and workout machines and stuff like that. And Epstein was in there, and he was creeping on the young underage staff that were there, and convincing them to come work for him. Now, Trump had learned about this. Apparently, Trump had learned about this, and he gave him the gear. Said, "Get the hell out of here!
Get out
you can't do
property."
that."
Yeah.
And he gave him another chance, and heard that he was doing it, did it again, and banned him from all of his properties. This was his thing. And not only that, he actually went to the authorities and said, hey, there's this creepo that's been, yoinking my staff, but not only that, but really weird stuff with underage girls, and actually alerted the authorities to this. Now, there's a video of one of the guys who was part of the investigation on the victims of the whole the whole not Mar-a-Lago, so the whole Epstein thing. So this is attorney Bradley Edwards, and he was interviewed about this, and well, it just speaks for himself.
Obviously, our current president has had relationships with Epstein in the past, and there are those Katie Johnson and maybe other victims who accused Trump of being involved in things like this. In my experience, Trump supporters will not listen to anything along those lines. Obviously, we're not a court of law here right now, but are those claims of that case was dropped? It was dropped before it went to court. In your opinion, as a lawyer and your experience, is there anything you can say as to the validity of those claims, or whether or not there will be any more about that?
Nothing at all. The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
That was in 2009?
That was in 2009. So,
do you know if there's any truth to James Patterson's claims that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago?
I've definitely heard that.
Definitely heard that. So this is the claim. This is where it's at now. And Trump's instructed the DOJ, Bondi, and everybody to release any of the information, with obviously the names redacted of victims of the stuff, but anything that they got, the full file. Let's get it out there.
Yeah. So again, okay, that's cool. I mean, I wasn't aware of that story. I'm looking at the comments, and apparently a lot of people were aware of that story for a long time. Like, it's not a new story; it's a common story. But it proves again, though, that Trump is basically a pretty straight shooter, simple guy, right? He's not this long-term strategic conspiracy, complicated life. He makes decisions on the spur of the moment, remembers what he's done, and doesn't embellish or change it. He just tells us what it is. So, the more of these kinds of stories come out about Trump, the more I like him, and the more you realize you just gotta, like, the guy is he's just an average Joe almost. Yeah, he's richer than most of us, but he's basically, he didn't like a guy and called him out, and which is what most of us would have done. And then as far as he's concerned, it's a done story. And it makes sense that, he's like, why would you guys dwell on these stories? Because for him, once something is dealt with, it's freaking dealt with, right? That's his way of operating. I mean,
and so that's where there's a lot of pushback, because the story doesn't end there, right? Like, obviously Epstein was into some other stuff. It was really weird. There was lots of people in really high positions that made compromising decisions on where the future of the country should be going, things like that. And where was the influence? Was there undue influence? And this is where people are very genuinely curious about the story. So Trump brushing it off as like, this is a done deed, a done thing, really pissed off a lot of his base. I think this brings a lot of people back online. Oh, okay. So he wants to just get it out there. Okay. We'll give you what we've got. But unfortunately, I think that a lot of the salacious stuff is probably already deleted. And that's the sad part of all of it, is that the people who are crying wolf now and saying like Trump's the bad guy and pull out the Epstein stuff, they were in charge when they could have done that. Bush even was in charge. He definitely could have done something. The Clintons, of course, they're implicated, or people say that they're implicated. Barack Obama could have done something for sure. Joe Biden could have done something, and none of them did. So again, it's a big sticky wicket, and everybody wants to know what actually happened. So now, in light of this, some of his comments from the last couple of weeks kind of make sense. I mean, I'm not his base because I don't vote for him, but he kind of pissed me off a little bit by not going deeper on that. But now I can sympathize when he says, hey, I got bigger issues to deal with than this. So in a sense, he's right. Interesting. Yeah, well,
I don't know when we'll ever see the true end of the Epstein story, right? I mean, it's one of those stories. At some point, like, what were you gonna say? Like,
well, I was gonna say because it's so secret, then there other stuff gets attached to it. It's kind of like we'll never get the end of Elvis sightings, right? Even if he lived to this day, he'd probably be dead of natural causes at this point, but people still see him, right? But that being said, there is a lot more to the story, but then there's going to be a lot more added to it by people who just like writing fan fiction, essentially.
Yeah. I'm looking at the comments there. I see Frank is in the house, and I agree with, he's paraphrasing something I said, but nobody in government has any vision anymore. Like, it's so rare. Like, I cannot give them the benefit of the doubt as far as having a plan. They don't have a plan. Carney doesn't have a plan. Trump has a bit of a plan. Carney doesn't have one. Tiff Macklin doesn't have one. Even dear old, Danielle Smith here in Alberta, nobody's got a plan, man. They're just, they're hit with too many issues. They don't have time to sit down, collect their thoughts, and start planning. It's too complicated. There's too many balls moving. So, anyways.
Danielle's catching flack, right? Because she's also trying to. A lot of people are hoping that there's a separation of Alberta, but she is also still playing the game as if the referendum comes and fails, right?
Oh, more than ever. I mean, there's a lot of game playing. I think we'll get to the game playing in the question period after this, because we're kind of running out of time. But the separatist referendum took an interesting twist this week. But before we get into that, maybe let's just finish this segment with the Battle River-Crowfoot debate last night. So people are aware, right? There is a by-election going on, one federal by-election. It's in Battle River-Crowfoot, and it's turning out to be quite the gong show. So last night was the debate.
Well, before we get into that, let's just say the only reason why it's happening is because someone in the Conservative Party who was elected with 80% of the vote bowed out so that Pierre Poilievre, who lost in his riding in Carleton, could have a chance to win in this riding and then come back in as the leader of the opposition.
Yeah, so he picked the, as I discussed last week, 2 weeks ago, the second most conservative riding in Canada. So he's running there. Nominations for candidates closed yesterday. There's 210 candidates. 210. So there's 209 people running against Pierre. At the debate last night, there was 10 candidates. Pierre was there. Of course, Pierre's running circles around these other candidates. He's a pro, right? He's been doing this for 30 years. 3 of the other candidates, though, the Libertarian and 2 independents, defended themselves pretty good. For rookie politicians, did really good. And I think and they hammered Pierre on. Interestingly, Pierre finally acted as if he was an Albertan, even though he's not in my mind, he's no longer an Albertan, but he took on Alberta values. He all the things he should have said during the big campaign, he finally said. So he was against high immigration. He was, all sorts of positive things. Suddenly he sounded like an Albertan. I think that'll backfire on him when he goes back to Ottawa in a month from now, and then goes back to being an Easterner, but we'll see. I think yesterday, he'll win the election, but he lost a few supporters yesterday. He got hammered hard on the fact that he had parachuted in. That didn't sit well. Like, there was almost boos when he tried to answer that. He had a good answer. People said, why should we vote for you? You were parachuted in here. He had a good answer, but anyways, it was an interesting debate. And I said there was 10 candidates, 5 of them there shouldn't even be in politics, shouldn't even be running a lemonade stand. I mean, there are humans out there that are just not smart. And there was a candidate there yesterday. Her platform, Clyde, this was her platform. Like, I'm going to work to get more funding from the government, like on everything. And every time she mentioned it, she got booed. Like, she's basically saying we're missing the boat on not applying for more programs, and everybody booed her. So, but yeah. And lastly on that, so because there's 210 names on the ballot, And in principle, that ballot would end up being about 7 feet long. So Elections Canada went to one of their really obscure rules. And so for this election, you'll be given a sort of a blank ballot and you write the name of your candidate on there. So how badly is this? How many spoiled ballots are going to result as a result of this, right? Like I told you in the last.
Well, I think a lot of people are not going to know how to spell Pierre Poilievre, and that's going to.
Now they said as long as the intention is clear. I'm like, shouldn't that apply for any ballot? Like apparently, if I circle the word, if I circle the candidate's name on a ballot right now, that's a spoiled ballot. I'm like, well, that's a clear intention. So now they said no, as long as the intention is clear. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see the scrutinizing that goes on for this one when they count, right? Like how many ballots will be spoiled. It'll be interesting, but good job.
So I did listen to his opening statement. I didn't listen to the debate. I was kind of whatever. It's doing it. He's gonna win it. It's one of those things. But his opening statement was a little wiffle waffle on like how he's there to help with the local politics from a national level and just really just kind of trying to whitewash the whole parachuting in and nip it in the bud before any of the questions came. It sounds like people are still pissed about that and rightfully so. And I caught one of your tweets just recently and I replied to it. This was one that you put out there. It said candidates should live in the riding. Agreed or not? Like, I definitely think so. And I said, absolutely, you should have a stake in the local economy and a network of friends within the community before you can represent them in Ottawa. Of course, all the replies to me were just focused on the fact that I misspelled steak. Whatever. But whatever. Like, actually listen to what I had to say. But yeah, I think you should have have a little bit invested in the community, have friends within the community, have a social life within the community. I think these are important things. How is it that you can represent someone from being parachuted in?
Yeah, he took a lot of flack for this one. This is perhaps the one issue where he does lose support. This is where, the previous candidate got 80% of the vote. So I don't think Pierre will get 80% as a conservative. And if he doesn't, it's because he got parachuted in. We'll see what the difference is. Overwhelmingly, most people think like you and I, that you should live in the riding. I've always felt that way. I mean, I've discounted candidates automatically who've knocked on my door here, and I've said, well, you don't even live here, so see you later. Like,
bye-bye. Yeah, bye-bye. Exactly.
And
well, we'll address more of this in the after stream. We're going to get into the question and answer portion of the show. So for all of you that are watching this the next day or on a different day altogether, tune into the live show. The live show is where it's really at. So we do it every Wednesday starting from 6:30 Pacific. That's 9:30 Eastern. Join us on the live. Marty, where can people find you?
Marty Up North on Twitter. And help me get back on my feet, because I took a week off, man. And so like Twitter is one of those worlds where if you're not, there's no passive commentary, right? Your old tweets don't sort of just suddenly appear. So I've fallen off the radar, and I feel like I'm non-existent in Twitter. So come find me, folks, and say hi and help me get back up. Those 8 days I disappeared as far as Twitter is concerned.